Welcome to the Zayari Wellness Podcast, where we learn about other people's journeys. Regardless of age, race, religion, or status, we're all just human and have one thing in common: the ups and downs of life. Join me in welcoming our special guest, Adriana, as we explore pretty girl privilege and the downside of being beautiful in business.
Hi guys, my name is Adriana Carolina Vega. I'm an entrepreneur here in San Antonio, Texas. I have my own all women's community group, and I am
Hilarious,
someone.
by the way.
Oh yes,
I love
yes, those girls have me laughing all the time. And then just for work, I do a lot of digital marketing, brand management, brand development. So I am a creative at heart. And so all of that has commingled into just me being a extreme social butterfly, but I'm actually very introverted. Makes zero sense, I know.
I am right there with you. Most people, it's kind of funny because it's just like, oh, you're a therapist. You might like to talk. And like the people that are close to me know that I'm like, I need my cup of coffee in the morning. I don't want to look at anybody until 9 o'clock. I don't want to talk. I feel like, and then being like a content creator or whatever you want to call it, and then
Mhm.
podcaster, I think what drives me getting out of the introvert is like, oh, I like to know different people, like, learning your story or growing. And in your case, they kind of call you the jack of all trades, right?
Yeah, and I used to change it. I used to write on my captions, "I'm the Jill of all trades," because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's not even the same Jack. I'm like, but Jack and Jill, and they're like, no,
Right.
and I'm like,
Yeah, people just don't know how to tie it together, must be the ADHD or something, right?
yeah. I was like, in my mind, it sounded great, so whatever.
Right. I don't see anything wrong with it. But so, like, tell us a little bit about your journey about becoming an entrepreneur. I know it's not easy becoming an entrepreneur. And I think it's definitely not for the weak of heart because,
Hmm.
we're like, especially like Latin and women, it's like you need your security. And like being a business owner, like, it's not secure, right? You don't have like a net to fall back on. Somebody's paying into your 401k or
No,
whatever that comes
no
along with.
insurance. There's no health benefits.
Right.
There's just you and your determination and will every day. And if your will's
Mhm.
down, so are you. And so,
Mhm.
my entrepreneurship journey probably began around when I was one. I want to say it started young, but it didn't really actually take off to where it was like I left my 9 to 5 when I was
Mhm.
22, 23. I was actually born in Mexico, Monterrey, Nuevo León, and my parents brought me to the United States when I was a baby. And like, I actually grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, which is
Ooh.
people be like, why there? I don't know. That's where my dad found work. He was a construction worker. My mom was a waitress at a Mexican restaurant called Cuco's. And it was just kind of like that was just our life. And
Mhm.
I grew up there for, I want to say until like second or third grade. And then they moved me down to San Antonio. And it was the funniest thing because I actually had not met another Hispanic until I moved to San Antonio. So I was like
Really?
the only Hispanic in Montgomery, Alabama. That's where the Martin Luther King March happened.
Wow.
I got to see racism up close and personal. And I
Mhm.
used to think, oh, people are only racist against like dark skinned people. No, my mom had like light skin,
Yep.
hazel eyes, blonde hair. The
Yep.
moment they heard she had a Mexican accent, they would go from, oh, hi, howdy, hello, to just, you're
Yep.
here to take our jobs. You're here to steal our benefits and all this stuff. And like,
Right.
they were so mean to my mom. And then
Mhm.
our neighbors were literally KKK members, and they would
Wow.
threaten to burn down our house every day when my dad would walk me to the bus stop. Mind you,
Wow.
we lived in an apartment. So if you burn our house, you're burning
Right.
your house too. But
But it makes
ignorance,
sense. It makes complete sense. It's
yeah,
fine.
ignorance was never like, I guess, intelligent. But
Mhm.
the reason I always go back to that is because I feel like I always say, oh, my entrepreneurship journey started when I left medical and all this, but it actually started as a baby because my mom always had to be so inventive and creative with bringing income to our household. She was very
Mhm.
prideful. And when people would throw it in our face that we just want their food stamps and the
Mhm.
benefits, my mom was like, well, we didn't apply for none of that. And we
Mhm.
have the right. A lot of people, I have friends that came here on no papers and they live like that. And, and they get scared when the politics start politicking, but no, I'm actually a citizen. My mom,
Mm-hmm.
fought so hard to become a citizen herself, made me, I was naturalized. My brother was born here and my
Mm-hmm.
dad became a resident. So we did everything the right way. And it still was so hard to do. And they
Yeah.
make me jump through so many hoops. And
Mm-hmm.
even then, my mom was like, no, we don't want your benefits. We'll just work hard. So,
Yeah.
because my mom, and we needed it, we so needed it, girl. So many
Mm-hmm.
people need it and they don't take it.
Yeah.
And, so she would be like, come on, Mija, we're going to go sell Avon. I have sold Avon, Mary Kay, Pampered Chef. What's that one where you just sell really nice lamps? It was like
Yes.
lights or something. I don't know. My mom's been in every single type of thing. And I would be in
Mm-hmm.
middle school giving out Avon magazines to my
Yes.
teachers. So
Mm-hmm.
it got to the point where my mom had to make me my own account because I was doing so good. I would
Oh,
be going
wow.
knocking up. So I was door knocking at 10, 12 years old. This is when
Mm-hmm.
kids still went outside and played on their
Mm-hmm.
bicycles. So,
You weren't
I
playing, you
was
were hustling.
yeah, and I thought it started then, and then
Yeah.
I recently reconnected with my father because I hadn't talked to him for a long time. That's another
Mm-hmm.
story, but he was like, "No, Mija," he's like, "You were in kindergarten and you would ask us for $5 to go to Walmart. You would buy stickers and erasers and pencils, and then you would go to school. And we thought, oh, maybe she just wants to buy all her friends, things. She's a little
Mm-hmm.
gift giver. I still am though." And no, I would come back with a little Ziploc bag full of quarters, and they'd be
Yeah.
like, "Mija, ¿qué hiciste? Like, what did you do?" And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I started my own little pencil shop, and so I
Yeah.
was selling to them things until the teachers kind of, they were
Right.
hating me, but So I'm like, when did my entrepreneurship journey start? It started with my pencil shop. Did it start with my helping
Right.
my mother bring income into the
Mm-hmm.
household? And
Mm-hmm.
so, at a very early age, I was introduced to money. I understood that
Mm-hmm.
money was very important. I understood that my parents argued about it, that
Mm-hmm.
households argue about it, that it's needed, that it's necessary. A lot of parents shy away from teaching their kids. My dad would actually show me our electric bill every month. Like, he wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
just be like, turn off the TV. You know how parents just yell
Yes.
at you and you don't understand why it's such a big
Why
deal.
you leave the room and turn the light on? Why?
Yes. So no, he would be like, come here. This is CPS. This is like, this is who our money goes to. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, when you leave lights on, this is what it is. He would show me like, this was February, this is March. And I'd be like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
look at how much big of a difference. He's like, yeah, because now we're in summer.
Yeah.
And so at a very early age, I understood bills, I understood money, I understood a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things. And as I got into like high school, I realized, I thought it was common knowledge. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize how many households don't actually teach their kids about finance,
Yes.
money, like any of that stuff.
Yes.
So, I started selling digitally, like I started, it's called Poshmark. So I started selling like purses and thrifting and
Mm-hmm.
selling on there at like 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of making money. I didn't really think anything of it. It didn't make me a millionaire or anything, but it was like, hey, you're a teenager and you're making $200-300 a week just selling stuff online. I mean,
Yeah.
that's movie money, bus money. And so I don't know, I guess my entrepreneurship really just kind of was always there. And when I
Mm-hmm.
actually decided to enter entrepreneurship, I just kind of took off with it. And the weird part
Mm-hmm.
is I didn't understand in my, like, I sound like I'm so old, right? Because I'd be like back in the day. So much changed in
Yeah.
just like 20 years. Like
Yeah.
like I'm in the middle generation where we started with like the first iPhone came out when I was in like 8th grade.
Right.
Like and I remember because Paris Hilton was on the news and they were like, she just got the first iPhone. And and I remember that so clearly. So the first
Mm-hmm.
iPhones were barely being dropped when I was in 8th grade. So like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a rich kid. My parents weren't gonna get me the new iPhone,
Right.
nothing. I had me a little flip and that was
Right.
it.
The little flip with the T9s and
Yes, T9 English. And if I wanted
yes.
to leave a voicemail, I'm recording it on 98.5, singing
Right.
a song I like. There was no ringtones. We're
Your
not
age is
spending a
showing.
dollar.
Stop. The younger generation is gonna judge you so bad. Stop it.
I know. They're gonna be like, you did what? Why
They're
would
like,
you
what is
do
that? Let me look that up. Hold on.
that? Yes, but and so I came from that generation. So in like high school, people were kind of getting the hint. Like I still remember having AOL dial up and hearing all those
Mhm.
crazy sounds. So like, yes, like, so like, I was fascinated to see how quick, like, we went from that to literally I have a thing I can put on my head and I can enter the metaverse. Like,
Crazy.
it go into virtual reality. Like, we
Hmm.
have FaceTime on our phone. Like, there's all these things that didn't exist 15 years ago.
And
And
so much, let me just, sorry,
no,
interject.
no,
So
no.
many different ways now to make money because of
Yeah.
that. That's what's crazy to me.
Yes. Yes. And
The
so
world
imagine,
is your oyster at this point, like
I
if you really
really
wanted to.
don't feel like anyone should not be making money online. Like, there's a thousand, I say it's like my little quota, and I don't know where it came from, but I always say there's 1,001 ways to get paid, and you just have to find the way that works for you. And it's
Yes.
true. Like, I literally, and this is another story for another one, but I met a guy, my boyfriend actually met this guy, and he was like, yeah, he literally goes and drives out to like New Mexico and collects tumbleweeds. And I'm
Mm,
like, and what does he do with the tumbleweeds? He's like, he goes to like Hollywood and he sells them to all the like movie production people because they
wild.
use it for their like desert stuff. And he charges them. He fills up a truck with tumbleweeds and he just takes it out there to them. And I'm like, well, who thought you could make money off tumbleweeds?
Off
This guy did.
tumbleweeds. Like you barely had to do much for
Yeah. Imagine just pulling up to the Hollywood thing and being like, y'all need some tumbleweeds for your Southern movie? Yes,
Look,
we do,
and the
actually.
niche is crazy because I'm like, people make pictures of your feet. Like, come on now. Like,
You know what? Back in my day, the content creation, like OnlyFans fans and all of that did not exist. It was a
mm,
different era. But yeah, so I just really was already making money online, but the word entrepreneur did not exist in my life. Like, there was not,
mhm,
that word didn't exist. And if it did, it wasn't being taught to me in high school, not in a
mhm.
public high school.
I know.
So,
You're
my
supposed to go
parents,
work for somebody else and get a 401k and be happy.
yes.
Like that's
And
what you're
that's what my
supposed to do.
parents would tell me. My
Yes.
I feel so bad because my parents were so annoyed. They didn't understand what entrepreneurship was. And I would
Mhm.
always be like drawing stuff. I would like draw bikinis and be like 1-800 buy one, get one free. Cause that was the old marketing stuff on TV. Remember, if you buy
Yeah.
one, get one free. For whatever reason, getting two makes it so
Right.
much better.
So much better.
And they'd be like, Mija, I'd be like, Dad, I'm going to own a restaurant. I'm going to own this. And I think sometimes they would just be having a bad day. And I know they didn't mean it, but they'd be like, that's not how life works. They'd be, and
Yes.
I'd be like, that's not how life works. You need to go
Yes.
to college. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to work for nobody, and I'm going to have a maid and everything. And they couldn't
Right.
tell me crap. And
Can't tell
so,
me anything.
it came true. Everything I said then came true
Mhm.
now. And I think
Mhm.
that's why it's so important that you teach young adolescent teenagers at a young age, or even kids, like, the value of things, and
Yes.
really support their beliefs. Because
Mhm.
people tell me all the time from high school, they're like, you're so successful, like, what did you do? And I'm so proud of you. And I don't success to me is like subjective to the
Yes.
person, because
Absolutely. Mhm.
you could have all the money in the world. Are you happy? To me,
Yep.
being happy is success, because you
Yep.
live in a world full of people who are negative, and
Mhm.
programming that's being pushed on you to be negative. And
Mhm.
so to me, I would just be like, guys, I've just always knew what I wanted. If you want to
Yeah.
be successful in anything, you need to know what you want first. Because if not,
Yeah.
you're just shooting in the dark. Like, how are you going to say you
Absolutely.
want to be happy and you want to make money, but you don't even know what you makes you happy and what you
Yep.
want to do that makes you money?
But
Like, you gotta,
let's look at that, right? Like, and I think one to kind of touch on like our parents' upbringing, you got to think about like their parents weren't the most wealthy either. All they knew was to work to survive because the
hmm
economy, I think we are one of the most spoiled generations to ever exist, and we still find a way to complain about how things aren't working in our favor. But when you look at history, and you look at our parents who went through the Great Depression, who my grandmother said she used to sew my mom's and her sister's clothes, and like go to a well to go take a bath. Like, we have so much accessibility. We have so much at our feet that I'm just like, wow, like, to think that maybe back in the day people would look at us and they live like kings, they live like queens, just
literally,
because they have a roof over their head. You can go to a restaurant and have a servant. That is only something that was preserved for kings and queens and presidents and all these, and we still find a way to complain. They didn't know
literally.
any different lives other
And
than work to survive.
I 100% agree with you. It's kind of crazy, because another thing that I'm so grateful for, and I'm glad you brought up the parents thing, because it took me my whole life to understand the sacrifices my parents made to get
Yeah.
me here. I was, for the longest time, I was so resentful because
Yeah.
we struggled so hard. And I just felt like they didn't really believe in me. But how could they believe in something they didn't understand and that was never
They
taught to
didn't
them?
know. They
It
didn't
took,
know.
exactly. They didn't know. They did the best they could with what they could. Even
Yeah.
parenting, they were
Mhm.
bringing me to a country where honestly, like half of the stuff I was doing, I go to like Mexico and they're like, "Why aren't you married yet?" With like 4 kids, and I'm like,
Yes. That's the Hispanic culture. It's like
and
there's
I'm
something
like,
wrong with you if you're 22 and are not married and don't have at least one kid. Okay.
yeah, something's wrong with me. I'm almost 30. I'm
It's
already
not
an old hag in
working.
their eyes. I have failed to carry the bloodline for some man out here. And but I will say I'm so grateful for like Mexican culture with its pros and cons because
Mhm.
one thing I am is bilingual. I'm not like 100%. I can talk to you in business in Spanish, but I can communicate.
Yeah.
And every summer for school, they would drop me off at my cousin's in Mexico. So all summer for 3 months every year for like, I want to say 13 years, I was just in Mexico and I learned how to speak
Mhm.
Spanish. I picked up traditions.
Mhm.
And more than anything, I learned to witness how others lived. Yes, there's
Yes.
rich and poor people in Mexico,
Yes.
but the level of poverty that exists there, you won't see here. People complain about homelessness here.
Yes.
You have not seen homelessness until you go to Mexico and you see a 5-year-old with whose face is dirty
Mhm.
and tattered clothes putting her hand out like this and asking for money while her
Yep.
mom's begging on the other side of
Yep.
the corner. That's poverty.
Yep.
That's hey, our government doesn't give us Medicaid. They don't give us
Yep.
food stamps. They don't give us
Yep.
anything. If we can't feed our kids starve.
Yep.
That's true struggle. And
Yep.
it's not to take away from people who are like, no, well, hey, I need food stamps. I'm like, yeah, but you've never actually starved. You've never
Starved.
actually been
Correct.
homeless. And if
Yes.
you were, we have government assistance programs that you can apply for,
Nonprofit, everything else
nonprofit
that you can go to, you know,
shelters. There's no
yeah,
shelters over there.
no,
They're trying, but no,
it's
it's
not.
not the
They don't
same.
have the resources,
They don't.
and I think it's similar. I love that you brought that up because I was talking
Mhm.
to my husband. This is
Yeah.
what made me think about this because you were talking about food. I grew up on ramen, like food, canned goods. Like my mom was like almost a single mom before. Like my stepdad would get deployed all the time, so it was just really hard. And like the time that she had in her hands, she cooked. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it was just like go make a dang sandwich, like go heat up. I bought Chef Boyardee like 3 cans the other day because I was like, you know what, like I don't want to cook, whatever. I
Politics.
heated it up and I gave it to my child or my 2 children. They looked at me like I was crazy. And because they're used to me like whipping up, like they
A
eat steak,
whole
they
plate.
eat like all of the foods, right? And they looked at me like, this is what we're gonna eat. And it brought me back and it made me realize, like we are so privileged and the life that my kids will live, they won't know what and I'm not gonna say we were dirt poor. We weren't. Like my parents were in the military and my dad's an engineer, but we did go to Puerto Rico every summer to visit my father and all the major holidays. And like you said, you see poverty there. You see what it looks like that
Mhm.
when the government decides to turn off your light and your water just because they want to preserve without your permission, it just happens. And sometimes you just have to deal with it. You
And you just
sleep
got
without air conditioning unless you're rich enough to buy an air conditioning unit to put in that specific room,
oh
not
my
the whole house.
goodness. I would go in the summer, and thank
Yeah,
goodness I stay with my like Weller off family. You get
yes,
an AC in your room.
in the
There's no
room.
central AC. That doesn't still doesn't
Yes,
exist.
and you sleep in your bra and underwear, even with the AC in the room, just so you don't
That
sweat your
AC
butt off when you're sleeping.
it don't look the same as central AC. Some people got the big ones. If you see someone with a big AC in
They
their
got
living
money.
room, they're rich.
They
They're
got
rich.
money.
They got they're big balling because and here it's just like it's a necessity. Like you can actually report houses for not having AC, like
Crazy.
for it not working. You can get
Mm-hmm.
in trouble. They
Mm-hmm.
don't care over there. They're like, oh, you want AC? Oh, what are you?
Get
Like
a fan. You have a
yeah.
fan. I was telling my husband, I was like, look, I'm sorry. Like, my kids are going to go have to visit their grandpa, like, so in the summers because they need to know. they need to know the difference and how much privilege they have here and the quality of life they have here, because I don't want my children to be raised and say, oh, we have all this money and, look down on other people. I want them to know that, hey, people live their lives differently in other places of the world. And you just so happen to be privileged enough that your parents work hard to get what they have so that you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to experience certain things. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
I'm so grateful. It really did. It really opened my eyes and made me aware. So then I would come back, and my friends are like, I started my job. My first job was at Bush's Chicken, and then I worked at Jack in the Box. So I worked at Jack in the Box, deep frying curly fries. I was 16 years old, and I would take a city bus to get there. But that's another thing. I moved out when I was 16. Love my parents to death, but it was just time for me to go. We
Mhm.
didn't agree on a lot of things. I was getting into my own trouble, and so I just
Mhm.
had to go. And so I had to get a job. So I got a job. I took the city bus, and I remember my friend, my best friend that I grew up with. She literally, it was night and day. I lived in like a small little KB 1-story home, and she lived in a nice neighborhood that had gated community. It had a
Excuse
community
me.
pool. Yeah, we didn't have that now. And her parents were well off, 2-story house, and she also left home maybe a year later. And she's like, I need to get a job, but my parents said they were going to get me a car and they never got me a car. So I guess I just can't get a job. How am I supposed to integrate into society? And I'm sitting here staring at my bus pass, like,
You're like the level of privilege that's coming out your
yeah,
mouth right
like I said, girl, if you want a job, you got to go get it by any means. Get on the
now.
bus. It's like the bus. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if you want to be on your own
Right.
without your parents, and I
Mhm.
literally told her, move back in. Move
Yeah.
back in. You're not gonna make it.
You're not gonna
And she
make it
didn't.
out here, girl.
She didn't. She didn't. She moved back in. I was like, her parents are so privileged. They even gave her a credit card to run away with. Like
Oh,
she ran away
I
from
would love
home. She
that.
had a
Give
credit
me
card.
one. Let me run away with your credit card, parent. Because I'll tell you what, I will run it up. You hear me? Like,
I'm sitting over here just trying to be cool with people in high school. Like, hey, if I do this, like if I beat you at this game, or if I dare you, if I win 25 cents, I would just like find ways to get 25 cents from people, because sometimes I
mhm,
didn't have a bus pass. I had to pay
mhm,
every day, and I'd be like, all right,
mhm.
it's 10 cents for a transfer. I was
Yep.
like, I got to come up with this 25 cents. Who can give me a quarter? I can find a guy to give me a quarter
Mhm,
today. And
mhm.
like, imagine having to hustle a quarter every day. Like, it's
Yeah.
not hard, but it is like,
Yeah.
it can't come
You
off like,
started small. Because let's talk about the level. Okay. Like, people, I would assume, look at you and they're like, man, she has it together. I want to be where she's at. I can't imagine the level of, especially being a woman, jealousy that you receive
yeah,
or hate that you receive because they want what you have, but they don't understand the struggle that you went
wait,
through to be
no.
able to get here and all the knowledge that you had to acquire along the way. Because let's be honest, success
Mhm.
doesn't just fall in your lap. And I think a lot of people have that wishful thinking that say, I'm going to will it to existence, but make no change and don't put in the effort and want success within day one. Right.
Mhm.
And
A lot of people that have approached me or want to be like mentored by me, a lot of them want a quick scheme. That's what they
yes.
want. They will not actually want to do the work it
Mhm.
takes. They think that, and one thing I had to learn even in my own journey is like I thought there was going to be like something, and it's like that comes from like, and I don't know how to say it without it sounding offensive, but it comes from a 9 to 5 mentality.
Yeah.
You think that
Mhm.
there's a good job. Like you can't go into entrepreneurship like 9 to 5 mentality. You're not
No.
going to find that one job that gives you the benefits, the everything. Like
Yep.
entrepreneurship isn't that. Entrepreneurship is cultivating a bunch of skills that you've taken from multiple things you've done and learning how to apply it to different things and having a
Mhm.
basket with eggs from different other baskets and
Yep.
learning how to feed one, and when this one's low you feed the other, and the other one keeps you up while the other one's recuperating.
Mhm.
There is no any entrepreneur I know does not have all their money in one thing, because the way this economy works,
Yes.
your boutique might be doing good during the summer,
Yep.
but then holidays hit. Now you have a slow season. You need
Yep.
to have something to replenish that, or you're going to
Correct.
struggle every time, or you're going to have to work twice as hard. And now you're working
Mhm.
the same hours
Mhm.
or working harder than you would if you would have just stayed at your 9 to 5. So then why'd
Yep.
you become an entrepreneur? There
Correct.
is a mentality that comes with being an entrepreneur. And a lot of people think that I don't even think that people think that it's easy. I think that there's just like, they think that it's just like this one golden egg that solves all your problems, retires you from your 9 to 5. And
Mhm.
that's not true. You might have that one thing that gets you started right and does
Yep.
well for you. But
Yep.
if you don't have any financial literacy, if you
Yep.
don't understand how things work, as far as
Mhm.
like, okay, how do I actually finance? How do I actually leverage? How do I actually reinvest this money? Um,
Mhm.
you're not going to last.
Or they want to pocket everything that you got to put money back into your business. Like this, I love everything you're saying because
Mhm,
people don't understand. Like, so one, I'm a therapist, right? I have a string of income with therapy. And then
mhm.
I'm creating the app, which is going to be another string of income. But in the meantime, I've reached so many hurdles that I'm like, I have to make money for the app. So I'm going to have to sell things in a different way. I'm going to have to do things in a different way as a precursor to the golden egg, right? And then like people don't understand that there's no systems, there's no routine. You have to make it all from scratch. Or
Everything.
being able to be teachable, to be moldable, to be flexible when life throws you the curveballs of like, I applied
Mhm,
for the financing and the bank said no. And so
mhm.
now I got to figure out to be like, screw you, bank. Now I got to go find a way to make money by myself and
And
automate that.
people are so, and you know what stops a lot of people? They're just scared to fail.
Yes.
They're scared to be told no. They're
Mm-hmm.
scared that it's not perfect. And I
Yep.
actually had to learn this. I've had mentors along the way, thank goodness. But the jealousy thing has stopped me multiple times when I was
Yep.
younger. It made me want to throw in the towel and say, you know what, everyone's gonna hate, oh, whatever. And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized, oh no, that's just really actually part of it.
Yep.
And I can't count how many times I've had someone try to throw me under the bus, try to
Mm-hmm.
blast me and slander me and defame
Mm-hmm.
me, and without zero facts. And if they do it, they twist stuff up. And I'm just like, you know what? This is so overwhelming. Why do I do what I do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard building an audience, because it's like if you say nothing, they say, oh, she's not saying anything because she's guilty. And if you do
Mm-hmm.
defend yourself, it's, oh, if you were
You're a
really
bee.
innocent, you wouldn't have to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can never win with people. And
Yep.
once I realized it doesn't freaking matter what I do, as long as I keep going, the people that need to see me or that are aligned with me or resonate on my level will see me for what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
we can all move forward together.
Yeah.
Everyone else, the doubters, the disbelievers, they're not even a thought in my mind. I used to let them really like live in my head rent free, and I had to learn that they're
They're
not
not.
relevant. They're not relevant. If you do good by people, good people will come to you. Bad people will still
Yep.
come, but it's about where you put your focus. And
Yep.
so where you put your focus is where energy flows, and that's where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like when it came to being a woman entrepreneur, my biggest hurdle, believe it or not, was doing business, because doing
Yeah.
business with men, because
Yes.
with
Say it.
men,
Hold on.
let me put that there,
Pause
with
right there. I had to give you your snaps. Yes.
because I went into business very naive, just sparkly
Mhm.
eyed, like, oh, this guy really wants to work with me. He believes in my talents, he sees my
Yep.
intelligence, and then it's, well, we should meet for dinner later. And I'm
Mm.
like, I mean,
Why?
yeah. And you go in so naive, and then you start realizing a lot of guys are here to waste your time. A lot of
Mhm.
them aren't interested in what you do, and they're just entertaining it for a
Mhm.
chance to sleep with you or be with
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
And, it's very discouraging, because you're put in a situation where it's like you want the opportunity,
Yes.
but you don't want to just be like, oh, F you. But
Right.
you also are trying to like dance around their, I wouldn't even know what to call it, like their predator behavior,
Yeah.
because that's really what it
That's what
is.
it is.
But you're just
Mhm.
young, and you're just trying you're like, I don't want to lose this opportunity, but I
Yeah.
also don't want to like, ew,
Right.
because, and so that's like already one thing you have to worry about. So you start learning I had to learn how to finesse. I mean, people hate that word. People think it's grimy. I don't. If I got to
No.
deal with a man trying to be grimy and trying to sleep with me and say fucking uncomfortable, discouraging things to me just because he finds me physically attractive, then
Mhm.
I'm going to do what
Mhm.
I need to do to get what I want. It's like, oh, you want to take me out to dinner, but you haven't even signed this contract yet. That closes the deal. Like, gosh, that sucks. I thought you were a serious businessman. Oh, well, I guess I'll just talk to you tomorrow. Leave a
So
month's
let's pause
notice.
there. I look, I love it because I can relate. Like I
Yeah.
thank God that I'm married now because now it's just a matter, and they still don't care. But regardless,
They don't, they don't
right?
really care.
It's a little shield of protection, just a little bit. But
A
you
little
know,
feel.
look, I will tell you this. Like I recently went on a business trip to
Mhm,
DC for a mental health
mhm,
symposium, and then like people, oh, so what do you do? I was like, well, I'm a therapist, but I'm building an app, right? And they're like,
mhm.
well, what's it about? And you have to learn how to give them just enough, but not everything, so nobody goes and steals and run away with your idea. Because the business world, let's talk about how shark eats shark, and somebody will take what you do, run with it, make money, and give you no credit, right? But
And
like
yeah.
you said, there's no contract. So what's funny is that I had these men wanting to work with me, right? And then I send them contracts, and I'm just like, hey, like I would love to work with you. I want to know what you're about. Here's my non-disclosure.
Hit them with the NDA.
Ask me if I've heard back. Ask me, girl. girl.
Yeah,
And this
we
is what I've had to learn, right? To
mhm.
protect yourself. You have to be so smart in this business world because it's like you can share all your ideas. Somebody will love
Yeah.
to invest in you. People will love to invest in you just to
Mhm.
have that conversation. But if you don't protect yourself on a business side, you're not doing yourself any favors, especially as a woman. We're not taken seriously in the first place. Do you know how many people have looked down on me, even going through the SBA, right? That's supposed to be professional. And you're like,
No.
hey, like, I need contacts to get financing because of A, B, and C. My business is lucrative, is different. It's not a restaurant. It's not this. It's not that. Like, it's really like a scale. I'm not asking for a $200,000 loan. I need 500,000, right?
Mhm.
And then you try to make those contacts. And before even getting to know you or your business, well, you need to have a business plan, and you need financials, and I'm like, hold on,
You're
wait.
just some bored housewife at home that's just
I
like,
have those things ready. Like I'm like, what do you pause? And so the level of crap that you receive just one for being a woman, and they look
mhm.
down on you as if you don't know anything that you're talking about. Not just the sexual advances, but you don't know anything. You're just a pretty face.
Yeah. And you know what the sad part is? I hear people all the time. I've actually had guys tell me, "Oh, well, you get far in life because you're a pretty face." So, and I'm like, "Yes. Yes, I have pretty girl privilege. Yes, it helps me start conversations. It helps me break the ice. I can walk
Mhm.
up to a group of men and they're not going to be like, "Oh, there's no egos because they're quickly drawn by my soft feminine energy, right? And I'm
Mhm.
vibrant and I'm very talkative. Yes, it breaks ice.
Mhm.
But that's where the privilege stops
Mhm.
because the only reason they're being nice to me is because I'm pretty. So yes, I
Correct.
get the door in, but one thing I've learned about business, I still have to do it, unfortunately. If I actually want to be taken seriously, I have
Yeah.
to be co-signed by a male.
Yep.
I or a woman that's already made it to the top and
Yep.
she's not being a hater and she supports me and wants to help and like have other women there. Believe it or not, which actually isn't really the case. They actually almost feel like very competitive, like they're the only female in the industry. They want to stay the only
Yes.
female in the industry, which I don't
Yes.
understand why, because they want to be the only one men swoon over. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I need men to co-sign me. So yeah, they'll entertain me being in the presence.
That's
But if I
cute.
actually want to have a voice to be heard, I need a man to
No,
co-sign me.
no,
And then
ma'am.
it's a double-edged sword because yes, I got in, but now even if you take me serious, because most men are not very faithful, their wives will not allow them to work with me. I have had it to where I think I have a good business deal going, and then the wife takes one look at me. I literally had an opportunity stripped away from me, and I remember
Mhm.
crying, not in front of them, but at home, because I was like,
Yeah.
I keep trying, I keep trying, I keep trying. These doors just keep getting shut in my face. Then I'm like,
Mhm.
what's the point of being pretty if it works against me? And so this, like, he even had me a contract. He was like, yeah, sign this contract. I'll start mentoring you. You can work in this industry with us. Da da da
Yeah.
da da. Like, I had a professional interview with him. He was professional. I didn't
Mhm.
get any creeper vibes from him. His wife came in one day, like as I left, she looked, I'll never forget it. She said, and I followed up with him and he just said, sorry, I can't. Never told
Yeah.
me why. And I knew why.
You
I knew
just
why.
know.
I knew it was her. And then I found out later through other friends, like, oh yeah, his wife hasn't forgiven him because he had a thing with his secretary like 3 years ago and she still hasn't forgiven him for it. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be a secretary. I'm trying to work
Right.
for the company and I'm trying to change my life and I'm trying
Yeah.
to change my income. Her insecurities stripped away my opportunities.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened. And I've had that happen so many times. And that was the
Mhm.
worst one though, because that's when I actually wasn't doing okay. I was really behind. I was in debt. I had school debts. I
Mhm.
I was like drowning and I didn't
Yeah.
see no light at the end of the tunnel. So
Yeah.
it just felt so horrible. And so, it does suck because you have
Mhm.
to deal with the men, you got to deal with the women. And throughout the years, I've learned how to make women feel comfortable because I do work in a male dominated industry and I do know how to maneuver men. And I'm gonna be
Mhm.
honest, 90% of them are not, they're not they're not people you like. If women, they have their women as profile pictures, as like they'll write a wholehearted post online, and then
Mhm.
I'm the only girl and I think they forget I'm the only girl in the room sometimes, and I hear the thing, it's barbershop talk in these
Yes.
business rooms. It's
Mhm.
barbershop talk, it's
Yes.
straight dump. And
Yep.
you're just there like, and it's not even towards you. They're just talking amongst each other, like, yeah, look at this girl, check this girl out. I'm like, if your wife was here, would you be having this
Correct.
conversation? And
Right.
why does y'all's entire like existence exist like pertain to just women and
Mhm.
dominating us and sexualizing us? And it's
Yeah.
like, you know what, you can just be a gentleman and say, hey, this woman looks lovely, and keep it moving. But it's like,
Right.
no, they all are all obsessed with it. And
Yeah.
so then you try to enter the room and it's like, how do you think, it's like, I know when I exit this room they're going to say something about me, and
Right.
it's always like that. So you
Yeah.
could either cry about it and be like, oh, the guys are always going to sexualize me, or you could just say, fuck it, I'm gonna use
Yep.
my energy to get where it needs to be. And I don't mean that in a
Yes.
like I'm asleep with people. I mean that like that's cute that you think I'm attractive, but like what can you do to make our
Correct.
business work? Are you
I'm
gonna
here.
sign the contract?
Yes, yes. Look,
No.
Adriana, like I think it's great that you're touching on take the good, leave the bad, right?
Hmm.
Because I think that we have this extreme mentality that often holds us back. That is like, if they're not all good, I can't work with them, right? And just like in relationships too, if they are
Hmm.
not all this, if they're not 100, I can't. If they don't meet all my check marks, I can't. And often,
There's not gonna be no business for you then, girl, because it's all
man,
bad.
well, that's
Yeah.
what I've realized in life. Like, I am going to take the good in this, the knowledge that they have, maybe
They do.
networking that they have, and learn how I can maneuver this in my favor. And everything else, like, I'm just going to treat it just what it is. As long as you respect me while I'm around, I don't care, you
Yeah,
know?
don't say nothing crazy, don't touch me.
Correct.
And, I've had to learn to have a voice. I didn't have it at first. I
Hmm.
would just kind of like he to like their
Hmm.
comments. But now that I'm maturing, I'm almost 30 now. So now I'm
Hmm.
maturing. I'm going into my grown woman phase.
Yep.
I'm noticing I have more of a bass in my tone. So like I remember one
Hmm.
time I entered a room and they were like, he's like, ooh, dessert just walked in. And I said, excuse me? And I
Right.
like stopped the room. And I said what I had to say. And then I kept it moving, and I was like, anywho, I was like, oh, good evening, Marcus. Good evening, Jack. I hope y'all are good today. How's y'all's wives? Like, oh, that's good. Yeah. And so, they straighten up. And I realized we have to do that for ourselves, because if we're
Yes.
waiting for the man in the shining armor to be like, hey, dude, that wasn't cool to
Hmm.
say, they're not going to do that, because the guys are
Hmm.
just going to make fun of them. It's like,
Yep.
simp, simp. I
Yep.
hate that simp word,
Yep.
but that's another topic.
And that means that you actually know how to treat women right, right?
Yeah.
Like, I girl, like, I love it, because like, even in dating, right? Like, let's look at like dynamics as an entrepreneur, like a woman boss, right? And dating, or even like, from in my case, marriage, like,
Mhm.
people look at us and they're like, oh, you wear the pants, and I'm like, oh, that's cute.
I'm a big baby, baby me. I am
Right.
open the door for me. Open
Look,
the door
like,
for
you
me.
you mean that just because I know like how to maneuver things, or I can make money, or because sometimes I have to have that A type personality because people meet me with the pretty girl privilege, or you don't know what you're talking about, and you meet people where they are, right? And they look at dynamics and they're like, oh, you wear the pants, your man ain't got no backbone. I'm like, y'all don't know nothing about my husband.
Yes. Yes, literally. I think
He's
it's
the
always,
first one that taught me the word no, by the way.
oh, you gotta put your foot down, babe. And it's like, I feel like a lot of men are actually intimidated by entrepreneurial women. I've seen it.
Hmm.
I've dated them,
Yep.
and they get mad. They get mad when you're more successful than them or make more money than them.
Yep.
And I get it. We live in a society where it teaches men that your value is based on what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
And, for a while, I kind of was like on their side. Not saying that I'm against them now. What I'm
Hmm.
saying is, there's this new mindset that's come about where they're like, no one cares about our mental health and our feelings and all of that. And I get it because, again, the society has taught them that their only value comes from providing and how
Hmm.
much money they make and being the top 1% alphas.
Hmm.
And I do understand that concept.
Hmm.
However, who's cared about us
Hmm.
since we weren't even
Thousands.
allowed to, like, thousands of years of rape, control, hindering our growth.
I'm a
And y'all
property.
are finally feeling it because we live
Hmm.
in a society that has said, you know what, since you created the society, you created it this way. And
Hmm.
now it's backfired on you because women got rights to participate in making their own financial decisions, owning
Yeah.
properties, and things like that nature.
Hmm.
Had that not happened, y'all wouldn't be complaining about mental health
Hmm.
because y'all would still have all the fucking power and y'all be able
Hmm.
to do and whatever y'all want. And that's how it was. Girls were not allowed to vote. We were not allowed to
Hmm.
go to college. We were not
Hmm.
allowed to have an opinion. We were not allowed to own our own property,
Yep.
houses, bank accounts.
Yep.
So what all could we do? We had to
Right.
put up with y'all's
Just
crap.
have sex, have kids, and be cheated on.
Be cheated on and be cheated on. And so,
Yep.
and we couldn't even talk mess about it because then they
Yep.
would send us to the doctors and lobotomies were legal and men
Yep.
would, and if you people don't understand how inhumane that is, go Google it. Imagine your husband putting you in a fucking chair and saying something's wrong with you. And literally it was a symptom. Talking back was considered a symptom,
Yep.
and they would go and give women and put a nail up their brain, destroy this area, which I can't get into science. I'm sure you know all about it. Your decision making, your
Yep.
personality. And
Yeah.
it's just like, and y'all did that and thought it was okay to do that to your wife, the
Yeah.
woman who dedicated her life to you.
Hmm.
And you guys would do that to us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do nothing. And no one
Hmm.
complained about y'all's mental health then because y'all had all the ego and freaking control y'all wanted. Now that
Hmm.
things have changed and women are in the field too,
Hmm.
now suddenly y'all are the victim.
Let's play the game. That's the
The
perfect gaslighting. if
y'all
there
are
is
the victim.
if there's not a better definition for gaslighting, that's what it looks like. You know what my husband calls those men? Losers. He's like, "Hey, you want to hear this loser?"
Literally, like
You know?
crying me a river. I do understand that mental health is a thing. I understand that there's a lot of
Mhm.
like things on young men, but no, we didn't get to self-victimize ourselves. You know what
Mhm.
us as women did? We marched on the streets, we fought for our rights, we went into workplaces knowing we were going to get harassed by our male fucking
Mhm.
counterparts every day, not get serious, not be taken
Mhm.
serious, not get heard, and
Not get paid the
constantly.
same.
Yes. And we did what we had to do. And we didn't talk about killing ourselves because
Yeah.
y'all did those things. We just put our game face on every
Mhm.
single day. And then we would still go home and cook
Mhm.
and clean because that was still our responsibility too.
My obligation, right?
That
And
was
so
still our obligation. Because if not, you're
what
not a good woman.
exactly. No, and it's still here's the problem. Like and I'm a therapist, so I have to say yes, mental health matters,
Mhm.
and for both genders, right? And there
Mhm.
is the truth to what they're saying is that for so long, yes, your value has been tied to money. Absolutely. But now that the tables have turned and women are making money, now you have to be likable. That's the difference. You have to be likable. And my husband, like, says that all day. Look, like, he's just like, this is why they're losers. Because now that y'all don't have power, you have to be likable and you only complain about the power. And some have the money and they want to use the money to flash it. And girls don't give a damn about that anymore because I don't need your money. So now I have to like you. So now that means that you have to work on your character. Now that means you can't be an asshole. Now
Yeah.
that means that you actually got to tend to your wife and her needs. And now things got to be 50-50 in the house. And I'm
Yeah.
all for paying half the bills. I do. I make money. There's
That's cool.
no reason not to do it. So I'm not one of those. Okay.
Yeah.
But
And I think that every household, it's whatever floats your boat. I know households where the man's a stay-at-home dad and he's a great
correct.
dad. And who
Look, my
cares?
husband says, like, when you make it rich and you're a millionaire, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad and take care of the kids. I said, okay, whatever you want, I don't care at this point.
He's like, I'll take care of the kids. It's just they're playing video games. I feel like
Right.
that's their
They're
biggest like,
fine. They're good.
you guys supposed to be cool. And every woman's different. I get it.
Mhm,
But you are so right about that likable thing. They
mhm,
they are like, oh, now they gotta be likable. Like literally now you can't, and that's why we have this problem where men like they don't do it anymore. But back in the day, they would just be creepers online, or they'd be like, "What's up, ma? What's up, ma?" Like, do you actually think
mhm,
that works? Women
mhm,
are not being entertained by your "what's ups" unless they just don't know any better. But like for the most part, most women get it now. Like,
mhm,
what do you bring to the table other than a "what's up"? And it's
mhm,
like men are mad because the system they created has backfired on them.
mhm.
No, they care about his money. But y'all created a system where y'all were the only ones who could make the money,
Yeah.
distribute the money, control the money.
Mhm,
Y'all did that.
mhm,
Women didn't do that. Y'all did that. And now
mhm.
y'all are mad that women can participate too.
Yeah.
And now y'all don't know what to do. Now y'all
Yeah.
have to, like you said, be likable. And that's a huge issue because they're like, well, all they care about is money, what I bring to the table. It's like, what else do you do? Honestly, what else?
Mhm.
What do you want us to like you for? A
Yeah.
good
Now I
personality?
don't need your money. Now I don't need your money,
Yeah,
right? And so, like, you
but
gotta
no,
work
think
on.
about that real quick. Let's entertain them real quick. Like, if y'all can't provide financially, what can you do for us as a woman in a relationship?
They can provide a penis, and you can buy those nowadays.
And I can adopt. I can go to the little clinic and adopt. Like they keep trying to pitch this, all they care about is the value we bring. But if
Mhm.
we weren't beautiful and we couldn't give y'all children and we couldn't do this, that, there was a long list. They're like, everybody loves women and kids unconditionally, not men though. No, y'all don't. Y'all don't love us unconditionally. We have to be
Mhm.
superwoman. We have to
Yeah.
do everything. We have to be
Mhm.
beautiful while we do it too. Like,
Yeah.
and no. And I'm
Just
just tired
expect
of that.
after you have a baby and push a baby out, expecting your body to bounce back right after that. Not only do you have to work, but you have to cook for me before I get home. Even if I get home before you still need to cook, and you
Yeah,
need to
but
clean,
no.
and you need to take care of the kids, and you need to work out, by the way. Figure out how to put that in your
Because if you
schedule.
get fat, oh my God, like I
God
can't be with you.
forbid that you
You just
age
let
and your
yourself
body and
go.
metabolism change.
Yeah, they talk about us letting ourselves go, but none of these men half the time have six packs nor a good job. They don't have you
Mhm.
on the insurance family plan. So you're just wasting your good years with a dude that's not doing nothing good for you.
Mhm.
And it's
Like
just kind
like
of like,
if
mm.
you find those men that don't put their value just on money, keep them. Like find a way to make it work, because like they are out there. Good guys are out there. And I will say this, women do have to work on not viewing men as money machines as well. Like
No,
that
no.
has to be
It sounds
worked.
like that. Like, what else can you do if you can't provide? But it's
Yeah,
like that should just be the base. You
correct.
should, as a man, as a masculine, you
At
should be
least
able
take
to
care of
provide.
yourself. I'm not even asking you to take care of me. Like I remember
Right.
dating a guy before I met my husband. We went to Burger King and didn't even offer to pay. Didn't even pay. Said he forgot something. I'm like, we went to Burger King. Like, I am not high maintenance. I was like, I got it. But that in my head, I was just like, nah. Like, I'm not here to bring myself and put myself where I need to be and also drag you
Yeah.
along
Let
for,
me be
for
clear.
good
Like, they
work.
get mad when you say that because it sounds like, oh, well, you think we're just ATM machines. No, I just think that y'all shouldn't complain about it.
You should
That
hold your
you
own.
explain that it's something that y'all do, that you
Yeah.
should be doing. Like I do it. I provide for myself. I'm
Right.
independent. I'm an entrepreneur. So why
Right.
are y'all complaining about y'all's value? I have value because I can take care of myself, make money, be beautiful, and also carry a conversation because y'all don't like girls to be boring. We have to be
Mm-hmm.
interesting. We have to be able to
Mm-hmm.
talk to y'all. So why are y'all complaining about the first fundamental
And
of
be a
living?
freak in the sheets and also be conservative all at the same time.
Why are you complaining about the first fundamental of living in a capitalist society that y'all have
Yeah.
actually created?
Hmm.
It just
Yeah.
I've just never agreed with the thing. Like that's cool. I'm pro men's mental health, but it's like let's not become the victim where there's no
Hmm.
victimization. There's
Hmm.
just a simple mental shift. Hey, women are starting to get into the industry of business, and this is just kind of like new. This is like in the last 30, 40
Yes.
years the women entrepreneurship started. So y'all
Mhm.
can either cry about it or y'all can just keep up.
adapt
Okay.
and move on. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
I
because we
really
didn't
think.
cry. We just kept fighting for what we
Mhm,
deserved was our right. Maybe y'all should do the same. You feel like
mhm,
women only see y'all as money machines? Then don't be money machines. Focus on you, focus on your assets.
mhm.
And if a woman, if both people make money, she doesn't want you for money, bro. So
Correct.
then what do you have to say then? It's
Correct.
like, but then it's like, and some men don't want a woman that makes money. They want the
Yeah.
housewife that just supports them and clears their head so they can
Mhm.
make the money. That's cool, but then don't use that against her. And I see that a
Correct.
lot. A lot of
Yes.
financial entrapment happens because
Yes.
men want that just so they can be in control. And I
Correct.
hate that. Once
Yep.
again, back to the ego. As long as men have the control, there's nothing mentally wrong with them. It's
Mhm.
about power, ego, control. It's not about
Yes.
mental health. It's about y'all's inability to let go of the ego. And
Yeah.
until y'all create personal development to understand that that's all that is, we're going to keep
Mhm.
having this debate for the next 10, 20 years with y'all. And y'all aren't going to
Yeah.
get it until women are just like, we're just not going to talk to y'all. We're going to talk
Yeah.
to the men. We're just not going to talk to y'all.
We're
Y'all
all
going to
going
be
on a
crazy.
silent treatment.
Y'all be going crazy to the other losers, like you said, about how no one loves you because you don't make enough money. Well, it's not even about that. I've dated men who don't make anywhere near what I make. And that wasn't why we would break up. It was never about the money. It was
Mhm.
about their emotional health and
Yeah.
intelligence, like their intelligence, not health, their emotional intelligence, their inability to be able to communicate, understand me.
Girl, I mean, there ain't nothing sexier than a man that can hold a good and like engage me intellectually. When I tell you, like, I think that's one of the reasons that I love my husband so much because
Mm-hmm.
I can have conversations with him that I can never have with other people. We can talk about politics, we can talk about science, we can talk about psychology, we can talk about all the things. And I'm like, there is nothing sexier than a man that I admire, than a man that can hold a conversation and is secure in his manhood and
Thank you.
doesn't need me to validate it and doesn't use me to either confirm or deny his manhood. He's like, I know who I am and I don't need you to approve of who I am. I love that.
And let me tell you something. That's another thing on entrepreneurship. The reason women, and I could say this about men too, but the reason people fail in entrepreneurship is bad relationships, jealousy, insecurity.
Yes.
This is what happens. This is exactly what happens. Hey, I'm gonna go out, come out. My husband won't let me. But I'm about to introduce you to a lot of people in your industry that you should probably meet.
Yes.
He just doesn't want me to go out. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. I didn't know that was your dad. Sorry. I didn't know
Yeah.
you were a grown woman that can't leave the house. And
Yes.
and it's like it's just unhealthy. It's unhealthy. And it works with men too. They can't leave the house because the
Mhm.
woman won't let them, probably because they were doing something bad. I don't know. But the point is
Mhm.
the man can't go network, the woman can't
Yep.
go network. And
Yep.
part of being an entrepreneur is network because
Yes.
there's no 9 to 5, there's no sign, there's no brick and mortar sometimes.
Yep.
So how are people going to learn about your business? You don't have a
Yep.
website, they can't look you up, like
Yep.
you can't go out, you can't meet people. So there's no phone book, okay? We're not in
Yep.
2002. There's no phone book. You are the phone book and you need to get out the
Yep.
house so people can see you. And you can't even leave because some other person is insecure. If you're
Yes.
in a, I have broken up with a dude because he was slowing me down financially. It was always a, well, who are you with now? And why are you meeting with them? If you don't trust me, don't be with me because I have to
Correct.
talk to people. And some people
100%.
don't want to meet up in a professional setting in a big
Yep.
office. Some people want to go to lunch and get to know you
Correct.
before they invest thousands of dollars into whatever project you're
Correct.
trying to pitch them.
Yep.
And if that's going to make you uncomfortable, if it's the opposite gender makes you uncomfortable, and I don't understand how y'all expect to be successful in a world
Yep.
where we live with the opposite gender.
Yes.
Can't just work with. I would love to work with all business women. I would love it. I think it would
Mhm.
be great. But that's not the case. I need to
Yep.
work with men. Men need to
Yep.
work with us. And if
Yep.
you feel uncomfortable, we can't be together. I'm not going to sacrifice my money. And that's where everybody can't be an entrepreneur because they've
Yep.
already had kids with these people. And I'm like, is
Yep.
that even it's not even your husband, it's your fucking boyfriend. Who cares? Dump him. Dump him. I don't
Yes.
and that's why I'm with my boyfriend now. I was so anti being tied down. I was like, I don't want no guy telling me what to do, where to go. And he's like, no, baby,
Yeah.
have a good time. Bye. I'm like, baby, I'm gonna be in California for 3 days. Okay, have fun. Bye.
Yes.
You're gonna be
Let me
jealous at
tell
all.
you, let
Yeah.
me tell you, that has been the most breath of fresh air. When I tell you there is such a drastic difference between my ex-husband and my current husband in that aspect,
Mhm.
like I wasn't a business owner then, but I was
Mhm.
like ahead in schooling. I made more, whatever it is, because I was growing at that time. And I felt that there was jealousy. And there's nothing worse than coming home and not being able to celebrate your accomplishments with somebody that you love and feeling it more of a competition. Right. And
Right.
then now being with my husband, and he's like, I'm your number one fan. When are we going to take over the world? Like, he's just like, I'll be like, babe, I'm going on a trip to DC. He's like, have fun. Like, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Really?
because
Yeah.
you still have to have your own life outside of your relationship.
Yes.
That's why a lot of people are divorced.
That's what is the formula to a successful relationship is two people that are independent, secure and whole and have healed themselves and have come together, and now you're just an addition to my success, not, a competition.
Exactly.
You're just addition to each other.
That's why
That's
everyone's
that's
so
what
depressed and codependent because they
yes.
never got to explore their own identity. They're not
Yep.
allowed to go. And so then that's why the moment they do finally get one girl's night out or one guy's night out, they freaking mess it
Do
up.
something crazy.
They wild out because you
Yep.
keep people in a little box
Yep.
every day, and then you finally say, okay, you can have this one free day, and they don't know how to
Mhm.
act because they've never got to explore their personality, their
Yep.
limitations, their boundaries, their temptations. People don't want to talk about it, but everyone has temptations and desires, and
Mhm.
and if you know that, you have to decide. It's like, is this more important than what I've built at my house? And
Exactly.
if you see it every day, it's not going to hit the same versus if you were let out one day into the free, beautiful world. Of course, you're going to
Yep.
act out. You've been locked up. Be
Yep.
okay with letting people show you who they are. People are scared to see who people are, so they just lock them up. You cannot lock up a
Mhm.
woman and you cannot lock up a man.
Yep.
You guys got to be able to have your own lives. And if you don't
Mhm.
trust that person, it's either they might just actually be good, it might just be you. Old
Mhm.
relationships, past trauma, you need to work on that. You can't
Yep.
live your life like that, and neither can they. Yeah, they're going to both end up miserable, both end up cheating on each other, and then still staying together, and then resent each other, and then just going to
Yep.
be cooped up. And guess what? You can't be an entrepreneur. You can work your 9 to 5s, and then that's where that whole joke with the work husbands comes in.
Yeah.
People end up in
That's a
relationships.
real thing.
They do that because that's the only out they can find. People feel
Mhm.
trapped financially because of the kids. You don't
Mhm.
have to feel that way. You don't have to feel that way. People make up excuses why they can't leave a situation, but it's
Mhm.
not true. And one thing I've learned about entrepreneurship is you can, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And as long as you believe that, you will have the life you want. People settle all the time and you don't have to
Mhm.
settle. And once you realize that you can have anything you want, you can just get it. You can obtain it. But
Mhm.
people are so scared to sacrifice. I think you said it earlier. People are scared to take that leap. They want it to be easy. They want it to be like a smooth transition, and it's not. It's a journey. Entrepreneurship is a journey because you have to
Yeah.
learn about yourself. You have to learn
Yep.
about what it is that you're doing,
Yep.
and, my entrepreneurship started with a pencil store, and I actually got into real entrepreneurship. I went to medical. I went to vocational school to become a medical assistant. I worked 12-hour
Mhm.
shifts. I knew how to do
Yep.
phlebotomy. I knew how to do everything. And I just woke up one day and I said, I'm literally working for $14 an hour.
Yes.
$14
Yes.
an hour. 1 hour of my life is $14. And when
Yes.
that like really sank in, and I know some people are like, well, I get 20, I get 30. I don't care. Even the $30 an hour sounds ridiculous to me that you're
Mhm.
telling me I'm worth $30 of an hour.
I'm
Like,
exchanging money for time.
yeah.
Like I love how you said it, that like it hit me when I was college days, and I was just
Mhm.
like, dang, like I work 20 hours just to buy this thing. I have to work 5 hours just to go to the movies with my friends. And I was just like, oh my gosh,
To
this
buy an
ain't it for me.
experience. Yeah, like you just have to buy an experience. And here, I want to say this real quick too, because I also learned this. I used to be so mad. I'm like, why doesn't everybody want to be an entrepreneur? And I was in medical and I was telling them one day I want to not work, and this is why. And I remember her name and everything, and she was just like, you know, I don't want that. And I was like, why wouldn't you want financial freedom? Da 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 da. And she was just like, she was an older young lady, and she was just so sweet. And she was just like, I like my schedule. I like knowing how much I'm gonna get paid, so I know how to pay my bills. I like my
Mhm.
schedule. I like order. I don't want to stress about not having my check. She's like, I like going home, reading my book, waking up for work, and going
Mhm.
back home, and that's it.
Yeah.
Some people are worker bees, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with a worker bee because without the worker bees, we would have no society. If
Correct.
everybody said tomorrow, I don't want to work, well, yay, now we're all like, we don't work 9 to 5, let's go to Subway. We can't get a sandwich because nobody
Correct.
wants to work. So
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on people who work 9 to 5s. I'm just trying to bring awareness to the people that are like you and like me that
Hmm.
realize that's not for them.
Yeah.
And they can't live it. Because once I realized it, I literally felt the feeling hate. I woke up every
Hmm.
day dreading work. I was like,
Yes.
I hate being here. I hate being here.
Yes.
And there's a feeling like it's different when you just show up to work, you're tired, and you're like, whatever, la da da da.
No.
Once you come to the realization of what we came to realize, you
Yep.
can't go back. There's
No.
no going back. Like,
I
you need,
felt like a trapped bird, if I'm honest. Like I really felt like my parents they're big on like they have government jobs, retired military, like my dad is the only I have a stepfather, so I have my mom, my stepfather, my dad, and my stepmom. But my dad is the only like he's an engineer, has his own business. He's the only one. The only reason I have walked this journey is because I'm like, Dad, I really want to own a. I've been talking to him about this for years. I want to own a business. I want to do this. I want to do this. And he's like, you got it, baby. You got it. Let me tell my mom's side of the family. They were like, oh, tú estás loca. You crazy. Like, eso no vale nada. That is not worth nothing. You need to go find and work for somebody else because that is the mentality of there's no security in that. But I went to work miserable. I was like, I don't want to work for somebody else. I don't want to be here. And you almost feel like a rebel. You almost feel like you don't belong. You almost feel like, and I'm just like, because you see systems differently. Oh, I can improve this by doing this, but nobody wants to hear about it because everybody's used, like my creative juices were just dying. And I felt like I cannot be my best here. I cannot.
Yeah. And like, it took me. I agree. Like I would see it and I was like, I left. I started my entrepreneur. I think at that time I was just learning how to trade like foreign currencies and I thought the stock market was going to be my entrepreneurship journey. It wasn't. I blew my account in a year. I woke up and I died inside and cried. I was like, I'm gonna have to go find a job. And
Let's talk failing in the trading space because you and I both we're crypto fans. Hey, like not putting all your eggs in one basket, like that's another basket. But in
yeah.
order to be an entrepreneur, you have to learn different skills and get creative with how to make money. But nobody wants to listen to you until it goes green, until it works.
Yeah, I get it. And you should listen. And I get it. People definitely want to see like results first. But like with certain things, like with crypto, I've been talking about it for like years. And
You were
now
the
it's
Bitcoin queen. Didn't you host an event in San Antonio?
yes, I did. I did the first annual crypto series. I did like the biggest crypto event that's ever been done. And I had so
Mhm.
much hate from men in the
Of course,
industry.
because they
Yeah.
didn't think about it.
No, and they were like, "You're charging $150 a ticket," and you're like, they literally called me to tell me no one was going to show up. They're like, "Oh, you're charging 150 for a ticket. You're not even new in the industry. We've been doing this for years when you were still probably in high school." And I'm like, "And
So
that's
you
cool.
host your
How come
event.
I've never heard about y'all? How come I've never heard about those events? How come I don't know about it? How come our community doesn't know about it?"
Yeah.
Well, my event made it on the news twice. I made the first ever Bitcoin transaction at one of our biggest tourist attractions. It's like this really tall tower here in San Antonio called the Tower of Americas. And
Mhm.
I didn't even realize that they accepted Bitcoin until I went to go eat there. And
Mhm.
I was like looking up the CEO, and he's like, "Yeah, all my businesses accept Bitcoin." And so I was like, "What?" So I
Mhm.
asked the waitress, and she's like, "Yeah, I think we do, but no one's ever done it." And I was like, "Oh, we're gonna make this a big deal." So,
Yes.
I made the first Bitcoin transaction. I paid for the whole event in Bitcoin, and so
Mhm.
I'm like, it was just for like the nostalgia of being able to say I was the first one to do it, but
Yes.
I didn't want to pay him Bitcoin, especially like I
Now
hope
you
he's enjoying it. I
win.
hope he's enjoying it because I know it's up, especially back then. Oh, enjoy my Bitcoins, mister. But
Look, he's probably really happy that you paid him Bitcoin right
yeah,
now.
we're talking thousands. That event cost a little right near 10 grand. So 10 grand in
Mhm.
Bitcoin. Oh yeah, he's living his best life right now. You're
Right.
welcome. But
And back then it was like at a 12, right? So
yeah, it was just like, he's good. And you know what? I wouldn't take it back though, because I'm glad I did that. We had old people show up to try to learn about crypto. And I don't trade it per se. My boyfriend's
Mhm.
the day trader, he's an options trader.
Mhm.
I'm more into just creative, digital, like web development, app
Mhm.
development, brand creation, brand development. Like I'm just a creative. I want to be in everyone's business and make their business better. I like turning
Yeah.
nothing into something. That's if I could make that the title of everything I do, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I definitely have diversified. Like I've done everything from event management. I've traveled to other countries to translate for like different DeFi companies. So
Mhm.
it's just kind of like, yeah, like when people ask me what do I do, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of do everything. I'm,
Live my
I'm in
life.
commerce now. I'm learning how to do this Amazon stuff. I'm
Yeah.
trying to take my real estate license. The classes are so boring. I love to learn. And I think
Yes.
entrepreneurship is about loving to learn.
Yes.
And if you love
Yes.
to learn, then you should be an entrepreneur. If you don't like learning
Yes.
new things, don't be one. That's
Yes.
simple.
Let's talk about real quick before, we
Mhm.
wrap things up, like all the ingredients to take and to be a successful business owner. We've talked about you can't fear change. You have to learn to roll with the punches. You have to like to learn new things, and you can't want the security. You can want security, but you don't expect the security. And
Mhm.
diversify your eggs, right? Everything doesn't need to be your product, right? It could
Right.
also be being creative and making money in other spaces, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so being a woman and being successful, I would call you successful because not only are you well off, not just financially, that's apart from it, but I love your energy. And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the things that, like, I know we talked separately on a phone call before, but
Yeah.
that's one of the things that drew me to you was your energy. I didn't get the I hate girls that are like successful energy from you. You are a very encouraging person, a person who likes to uplift others, and you're feisty in defending other people and stuff that you're passionate about. So I would
Yeah.
say, yes, it's possible to be women business owners and encourage each other. And we don't have to be catty because there's plenty of customers out here. There's so many different niches out here. And
Mhm.
it's okay that we are in the same space and we can like make money. Like, what's wrong with
Right.
that?
Right. Yeah. I'm a big believer in just coexisting and teaching people how to align together as a community. I'm huge on community. One thing we didn't really touch on this one, which is fine because that's a whole topic on its own, is spirituality. No matter what
Mm,
you believe in, when I say the word spirituality, they're like, "Oh, this hippie." I'm talking about soul. I'm
mhm.
talking about understanding we are so much bigger than the identity we have all created for ourselves. Even me, like, I can look in the mirror and say, I'm successful, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm all of these great things. But end of the day, you peel off all those layers. And what you have left is just soul
Mhm.
and your ability to touch others, heal
Yeah.
others, love others. And no matter how successful, how much money, how many friends you have, if you yourself aren't doing something to give back to your community, whether it be your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, or doing something for something you believe in, whether it's saving the dolphins or saving the homelessness, if you're not doing some type of act of service, you will
Mhm.
never feel fulfilled, even as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. And that's what actually fuels my entrepreneurship. Mine has been more for women, but I do have passion to want to pursue community in whole, men and women, because end of the day, we need men. We need men to be men, and men
Yes.
can't be men unless they do the work. So if I could work
Mhm.
with male leaders and they could hear me and I can hear them, and we can help people realize, hey, we need to just align a lot better, because I don't know about you, but I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the
Yes.
violence. I'm sick of the drama, the gossip, the negativity. I'm sick of it.
Mhm.
I'm
Us
sick of
versus them. It doesn't have to
I'm
be like
I'm
that.
sick of the us versus them, and I'm sick of
Mhm.
the women hating women and the men trying to peacock other men. It's like, why can't we just live in a society where we're all thriving? Why is
Mhm.
that an image that can't be manifested for people?
Yeah.
Why can't they believe that? Well, that's just not how it is. Well, why can't it be? We
Yeah.
all have the power to make a difference. And
Exactly.
so that's just like my takeaway is like everything I do it from the heart, because end of the day, that's all I had. And that has brought me good people. It has brought me good communities. And so I just want to share that with others, because me helping other people isn't going to stop what I'm doing, and if
Yeah.
you don't like me for whatever reason, that's okay. You have that right to not like me. I'm not worried about you. I probably won't remember you. I'm only focused on the people I can help, the hearts
Mhm.
I can touch, and my livelihood and my family. As long as I can do right by myself and the people I care about and the community that cares about me, nothing's going to stop me. And I think that's what powers me to go on and on and on to like keep learning new things.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I
that's it.
love it. Yes, well, I loved your insight. I love everything that you said. I really enjoyed, everything we talked about. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to just let us pick a little bit at your brain about entrepreneurship and being a woman in business.
No problem. Thank you so much. I had fun. Thank you so much for inviting me. And, I'm sure maybe in the future we'll do another one of these.
If you like this episode, follow us for more mental health education and humor. Don't just learn about mental health, apply it by playing the game of your life. Create your free account for exclusive access to communities and a wealth of resources.